everyone, I am here today with a July reading wrap-up. I've been kind of experimenting with what way I want to do wrap-ups, or indeed whether I do them at all, and this is just another part of my experiment. So in July I actually read 11 books, but you already know about a lot of them either from singular reviews or from my Reading Rush vlog, so I won't go into great depth in this video. But I wanted to see how I get on with monthly wrap-ups because it's been a while since I've tried to do one. I used to struggle with them because I couldn't remember anything about what I wanted to say about the books, but that was a good while ago that I last tried, so I want to give it a go again. So the first book that I finished in July was an audiobook, and that was The Animals of Farthing by Colin, Dann. This is the first book in a series. I used to watch the TV show as a kid. I absolutely adored this audiobook. It was just such a nostalgic trip for me. If you've never heard of The Animals of Farthing, it's about this group of animals that live in a wood, Farthing Wood, ironically enough, and you've got all sorts of types of animals. You've got like a fox, a badger, lizards, birds, rabbits, you know, everything that you could think of. And they all come together and agree that they need to move on to somewhere else because humans are building over their habitat. This is such a thing that I see personally because I live in a village that's being built up very quickly. And in this village, you do kind of find yourself thinking, well, what's happening to the places where the animals used to live? Obviously, I'm not necessarily on about such a wide variety as this, but I know for a fact that like there's birds of prey in the area, there's bats, and it just really makes you think about what we're actually doing. This is such a topical book even now, and it's been out for so many years, so I highly recommend giving this a read. Though it is a children's book, it is still, as I said, eye-opening for adults, still a good read for children, and highly recommend, 5 stars all the way. The second book I finished in July was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm becoming a major Taylor Jenkins Reid fangirl. I enjoyed this a lot. I gave it 5 stars. Did I do an individual book review for this? I don't remember. If I did, I will link it. So to give you a quick bit of info on this, this is a novel that follows a 70s... Yeah, this is a novel that follows a 70s rock band. I use the term rock quite loosely because their music's a bit all over the place. It kind of reminds you of the likes of Fleetwood Mac, for example. I know there's been a lot of influence from groups like that in this book. And this follows Daisy Jones and a group called the Six, and at first they're separate entities, and then you get to know more about them and they come into contact in the music world, and this just shows you what it was like to have all the sex, drugs and rock and roll kind of experience in a safe way. So this is a very interesting book as it's actually told in interview style, so you get kind of comments on what happened through each bandmate, and people have often got different ideas of what happened in a certain situation, and you'll find that there'll be certain people you don't trust, certain people you do, and that overall the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, and that alone is a reason to pick this up. I've heard great things about the audiobook, which I am planning to listen to at some point, but the actual reading experience of this was equally good. I mean, it takes you a few pages to sort of get into the flow of it. It's more like reading a real kind of biography or something rather than fiction. So if that's something you like to read, you might find this quite easy to read. But yeah, it was just something really different, really unique, and another 5-star book from me. Next, I read a book that I received from the publishers via NetGalley, and that is The Bitter Edge by Rachel Lynch. This is the 4th book in the Kelly Porter series. I feel like I must have done an individual book review for this. Why, I can't remember, I don't know. If I did, again, I will link it in the cards and also the description down below. But this was a fantastic crime novel that had so much more to it than just that. You've got the thriller aspect, you've got the crime aspect, but you've also got the actual police officers aspect. And for me, it was quite interesting because normally I'm not too into what's going on in the police people's lives. It's an extra bit of plot that I don't need, but I found myself really caring about Kelly Porter. There was something about her whole kind of family dynamic and storyline that really engrossed me. So since this was the 4th book in a series, I now want to go back and read the first 3 because I feel like I've missed out on something. It didn't actually impact my reading experience while reading the book at all, actually. I was really impressed to find that I was able to enjoy the book for what it was and was able to give it 5 stars. But there is a nagging part of me and it's like, I want to know what happened before this. So I'm going to go back and read the others at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. But you don't need to have read the first 3 to pick this one up. They all work really well as standalones. This one being no exception, I'm sure. So yeah, another 5-star read from me. July was fantastic. The next book I finished was a book that I read for the reading rush, and that was The Witches by Roald Dahl, so I won't say much about this here. If you want to know more about my thoughts, as this was a reread for like the 5 billionth time for me, then go and check out my reading rush vlog because I talk about it more in depth there, along with my thoughts on the film. If you've never read this children's book, I highly recommend doing so because it's darker than you would think. Adults can enjoy this. It actually spooked my mum out when she borrowed it, so yeah, check it out. 5 stars. Also for the reading rush, I read another Taylor Jenkins Reid novel, and that was Forever Interrupted. This was her debut novel, and this broke me. It absolutely broke me. I spent half my time crying or laughing. I didn't know what I was doing from one bit to the next. So the story follows a young couple who have had a whirlwind romance, have got married very quickly, and not long after they get married, the husband gets killed in an accident. And this book just follows the main character dealing with this and the family dealing with this, but also takes you in alternate chapters on a trip through their romance, through their dates, how they came to be at the point that they are at the beginning of this novel where he dies. So yeah, while this isn't necessarily as fleshed out as some of her other more recent works, it's a fabulous debut and I highly recommend giving it a go. I also gave this 5 stars. Next I read I Owe You One by Sophie Kinsella. I also read this for the reading rush, so again, check that vlog out for more thoughts. But I love Sophie Kinsella's work. This was no exception. Yeah, I thought it was going to be. I didn't get into this book for the first 50 to 100 pages probably. I found it quite irritating at times. I found the main character's name irritating, Fixie. Or because she likes to fix things. I was like, it just didn't feel creative at all. But I actually ended up absolutely loving this. The family dynamic, the emotional roller coaster, the romance, everything just took a slightly more mature path than what some of her other books take, and I thoroughly enjoyed this and also ended up giving it 5 stars. After that I read a graphic novel, which is one that I've been meaning to read for so long, and I picked up book 1 of Sweettooth by Lemire. And book 1 contains the first 2 volumes in this series, and oh my goodness, I really enjoyed this. It was everything I wanted and actually quite a bit more. It felt almost like a zombie apocalypse kind of story, but there was more to it than that, and it was a lot more twisted than that, and it did a really excellent job of just setting up the story for the future volumes. Because of this, I only gave the book 4 stars, but that's because I just feel like there's so much more to give yet. There's so much more room to grow. I can't wait to check out the rest of this series at some point soon. I actually managed to pick this up on Kindle Unlimited, so I didn't even have to pay for it, which is always a bonus because graphic novels are so expensive. After that, I picked up another Animals of Farthing Wood book. This time I just picked up a short story version, and this is Spring Awakening, and basically this contains the equivalent of 1 episode in the TV series and like 1 chapter of what the full novel would be, and it's just adorable. Again, I read this for the reading rush, which is why I was reading something so short and kid-like, because I needed something quick. And it's just absolutely adorable. There's not much to say about it. It is a very short children's book, but I gave this 4 stars. I also picked up Bambi for the same reason. Just Disney's version of Bambi. So again, it's a very, very, very short book. But I picked it up because I needed to crack on with some books for the reading rush. And I really enjoyed my reading experience. It's absolutely adorable and highly worth picking up for a quick read, just to have the nostalgia rush and a bit of cuteness. that's not a word, cuteness. I gave this 4 stars too. Then, because I was still cheating during the reading rush, I also picked up Mr. Tickle in a Tangle. I've reread this a few times now. I enjoy some of the artwork in it. I mean, this is definitely a great page. But also, there's some pages that just didn't really make sense to me. Like, this is a kid's book, and it's about Mr. Tickle, who gets himself in tangles. Yet there's one page where there's no sign of Mr. Tickle or a tangle. And yes, this was the only thing I could really find to pick on this book. So I gave this 3 stars, actually. Yeah, 3 stars. Still, if you're after a book to give a child to read, then highly worth, you know. You can't go wrong with the Mr. Men. The final book that I finished in July was an audiobook, and that is Circe by Madeline Miller. I want to start this off by saying, please don't shoot me. But I didn't see the hype with this book. I'd been really looking forward to picking it up because literally everyone loves it. And I usually like popular stuff. And my tastes are all over the place. I was like, subject matter shouldn't be an issue. Like, I've got no issue with Greek gods and all that kind of thing. I should enjoy this. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. I just felt like it was very, for want of a better word, boring. Nothing really happens for a lot of the book. It's just internal monologue, and with listening to this in an audiobook format, that just didn't really work too well for me. I just felt like nothing was happening. I wasn't connecting with Cersei or indeed any of the characters, though there was the odd scene here and there that gave me a little giggle because I did actually quite enjoy some aspects of the story. It just, I don't understand the hype. Maybe without the hype this could have been a 4-star read for me, but I was expecting something wonderful and just got average. Totally average. I'm not used to disliking a, well, not disliking, but not absolutely loving a popular book. This is a weird feeling for me. So that is all that I read in July. I'm gonna try for a few months to do monthly wrap-ups and see how this goes for me, so watch out for my August wrap-up early in September. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!